Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to welcome Anna Katz, who's with the Grassroots Crisis Intervention Center. And many of us are familiar with Grassroots from our work with the Day Resource Center. But what we may not realize is how broad the services are that Grassroots offers as part of its crisis, part of its name. And so Anna will be able to tell us about that, how we can be more involved individually if you want, and also answer questions as we get farther along. So if you think of a question, keep it in mind, and we'll definitely have room for a Q&A at the end. Go right ahead, Anna. Oh, handouts. So I'll pass these around. There's a rack card that explains a lot of the mental health and behavioral services. It's a 24-hour crisis hotline, and there's also other refrigerator magnet or whatever. So I'll just pass this around the room, and you can take one if you want. Go right ahead.
All right, thank you, Patricia, for that introduction. Hi, everybody. I am thrilled to be here. I am Anna Katz with Grassroots Crisis Intervention Center. My title is Director of Grants and Support, and I actually started with Grassroots in 1994. So I've been around Grassroots a long, long time. I've seen the amazing growth of the organization. And one of the reasons for the growth, unfortunately, is the need for its services. So Grassroots has 3 facilities here in Howard County. We've been serving those in need in Howard County since about 1969. We've grown significantly since then. So Grassroots was started by a group of college students from Antioch College that wanted to create kind of an alternative mental health counseling kind of place. So think back to the late 1960s. Our original site was kind of where Banneker Fire Station is now, across the way from Merriweather Post Pavilion. So, you know, think somebody enjoying the Grateful Dead concert a little bit too much, stumbling over to Grassroots, where they found all volunteer, no paid staff, and a place that they can drop in and get some counseling if they need it. So those were kind of our original humble beginnings here in Columbia. Since then, we have grown significantly. We have 3 locations here in Howard County for our different services. We have about 200 full and part-time staff, and a budget of, well, I think last year was around $11 million. So I rarely go out to any group where I leave and they go, oh, now I knew all of that. Usually people are familiar with some aspect of what we do, maybe because their organization is involved, or their scout group donated something, or they know somebody who needed our services and used the crisis services. So often they know like a sliver of what we do, but not the entire scope of what we do. So I like to go out to groups and share everything that we do, because mental health and substance use and other crisis services, they don't care where you live, they don't care how big your house is or how much income you have. You never know when you or somebody you know might become homeless or need our crisis services. So most people are familiar with the shelter program, and that's been at the 6700 Road, Freetown Road site for many, many years. It's right next door to Atholton High School. And that is where our shelter services and our crisis services were located at one location for many years. The current building that's there went up in 2008. A couple of years ago, we realized that our crisis services were expanding tremendously, and we just did not have room in the building that we were in. The 6700 Freetown Road building is a Howard County owned building, which we're very fortunate to have. We were busting at the seams. If we had another staff person, I'd have to put him in the broom closet. I mean, there was just no room for anything. In October of 2023, so going on almost 2 years now, we moved all of the crisis services out of that building and into a new location, 8990 Old Annapolis Road. So it is on Old Annapolis Road, Route 108, kind of between the Red Branches, if you know where that is, down the road from Howard High School. So if you pass by that road, you'll see how Sheppard Pratt has an office. We're the building right behind it. So yeah, you can refer to that address on your RAC card. So all of those services moved out. So what crisis services moved out to that building and expanded? So our 24-hour crisis line. So Grassroots for years and years has had our own 24-hour crisis line, 410-531-6677. We also now respond to 988. Who's heard of 988? Hopefully some people. So 988 is a national number that's very easy to remember, kind of like 911. No matter where you go, if you have an emergency, you know that if you're in Alaska or Florida or anywhere else, you can call 911. Even little kids know that. So the idea of 988 is the same kind of line and number that's easy to remember, but for a mental health or substance use crisis. So no matter where you are, you can dial 988 from any cell phone or landline, and you will be routed to a counselor 24/7. So Grassroots answers 988 calls as one of the call centers in Maryland. We are also a national backup center for 988 crisis chat and text. So we've had that program about 2.5 years now. Anybody can chat on a computer or text on their phone 988 and be connected to a counselor. As you can imagine, that population leans a little bit younger. Some of us like to pick up the phone, others are more comfortable chatting and texting. So we get chats and text from all over the country. So when that regional center doesn't have any available counselors, it's routed to one of the national backup centers, and that's what we do there. So 24-hour hotline, 988 chat and text. We also have mobile crisis team. Mobile crisis team are 2 mental health clinicians that will go out often with the police for a psychiatric emergency, a traumatic death situation, intense family conflict. So we do about a little over 1,000 community responses every single year. We go out to Howard County Public Schools. We go out all over the place. Anyone can dispatch mobile crisis by either contacting the police. So often the police call us and say, hey, we're out on this situation. We think there's some mental health issues involved, and 911 can dispatch mobile crisis to come out with the police. Sometimes it can be a situation where a loved one is concerned about the mental health of somebody in their household. They can dispatch mobile crisis team to come out. And they can do an emergency petition and if someone is a danger to themselves or others, and get them taken to the hospital for evaluation. We also have a substance use disorder crisis stabilization program for opioid or stimulant use disorders. So anyone can, with any kind of substance use disorder, can come out and get screened and then work with our counselors for the most appropriate treatment services based on the results of that screening. We can also, usually we get folks to treatment. The idea is to get them to treatment within 23 hours. So like get them in and out the door. They can spend the night with us if needed, but the idea is to get them to treatment. We can also assist with transportation, either from wherever to get them to Grassroots for that screening, or from that Grassroots, we've sent people by Lyft or whatever to treatment centers all over Maryland. So two of the newer programs that we were able to open at the Crisis Center when we had now the additional physical space. We have an outpatient mental health clinic. So the outpatient mental health clinic is free therapy. So that's a little bit of a different thing for us at Grassroots. Normally, we are crisis services. We deal with the crisis, we provide the access and the referrals, and then you move on to somebody else. The outpatient mental health clinic is a little bit different because it's longer-term therapy. The idea of our outpatient mental health clinic is to provide access within 24 to 48 hours for mental health therapy for folks with barriers. So a barrier to therapy can be somebody who doesn't have insurance and needs to see a therapist right away. It could be somebody who has insurance, but just moved to the state of Maryland and they can't get an appointment with a therapist for another 8 weeks and they just ran out of medication. So we have a prescriber who can help with that. About 30% of the folks that we serve in the outpatient mental health clinic are experiencing homelessness. A lot of them have not been able to get that mental health therapy that they need, and that is a barrier to them working with their case manager to get from homelessness to stable housing. If you're experiencing deep depression or anxiety or something like that, that can be a very serious barrier. So we get folks into that therapy, they then feel better, so then they can help advocate for themselves and help better participate in the process of getting out of homelessness and into stable housing. And then finally, we have behavioral health urgent care. We are the only behavioral health urgent care in the state of Maryland that is free of charge. There was a program somewhere and it closed its doors in July because it just couldn't afford to do that. So there is no other place in the state of Maryland for free behavioral health urgent care. There's all kinds of places for physical urgent care, and there's the hospital and all of that, but they're gonna say, where's your insurance, and please pay your copay up front. So all of our crisis services are free of charge. Nobody will come to Grassroots and then get a bill mailed to their house or asked for their copay before they can get services. Trying to think if I covered everything. I think I covered everything about the crisis services. And then I'll also want to stay on time. And then so when we took all the crisis services out of the Freetown Road building, that left a decent amount of vacant space. So the county was able to use some use it or lose it COVID funding to do some renovations on the Freetown Road building. We had phase 1 of those renovations completed in November of last year, and that opened up, and through those renovations, they were able to create 20 beds of emergency shelter. Those beds opened up and were used for cold weather shelter last year. So it was a little bit of a different model for cold weather shelter. In the past, I don't know, 17 years, the model was that different congregations hosted the cold weather shelter in their facility. We had a 17, 18-week season. It moved from place to place to place. And then since COVID for, I don't know what, 4 years running, it was in motel. That last year was the first year that we actually hosted cold weather shelter right in the Grassroots facility. So it was a learning experience for all of us. There were some good things and some bad things about it. Good things were definitely the fact that our folks did not have to leave during the day. That was always the most heartbreaking part of cold weather shelter because it was only open from 5:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. because the faith communities needed the space for other stuff during the day. So everybody had to be exited out of cold weather shelter at the crack of dawn in the middle of the winter, and they had to kind of fend for themselves during the day and then come back during the evening. That also made it really challenging for us to get any kind of case management services because we couldn't communicate, we didn't have our hands on folks during the day when most places are open. Hard to do stuff at 7, 8:30 at night when every place is closed. So kids didn't have to, so at Grassroots, kids didn't have to leave during the day. We had case management services. We could work with those folks. So that was a really, really good thing about the kind of the new structure of the program. The bad part was that we still had different faith communities that helped us with meals and stuff, but it just didn't quite have the same feel. Like when cold weather shelter came into your church, into your fellowship hall, whatever, you were the hosts. Like it was like guests coming into your living room. People got to sit down and kind of see the families and talk to them and provide fellowship and movie nights and activities and stuff like that. So it wasn't quite the same interaction. But on the whole, the benefits probably outweigh the lack of interaction with the faith communities. So I think overall for our clients, it's better. So last year we got those, I guess I should back up. So when both programs were in the building, we had 51 beds of shelter. We have a family and women's shelter downstairs that served about 10 families and 6 single women at any given time. And then upstairs was the men's shelter, and that was an 18-bed men's shelter. Combined total beds were 51 beds. So if you do the math, we got 20 beds last year. Phase 2 of renovations is finishing up now, should be done in about mid-October. And we are getting an additional 17 beds. So that will bring our total to 88 beds of shelter from 51 beds of shelter. So percentage-wise, that's a pretty significant increase. So we will now be using those additional 17 beds of shelter that are coming in this year. Those will be the dedicated cold weather shelter beds. What will happen next year, I have no idea. That's up to the county. So we will now have 88 total beds of shelter.
So when do we need to feed 88 people? What for projection?
So that was one of what I mentioned that your question was, when do we need to feed 88 people? So yeah. So that was one of the learning things that when we asked different congregations for cold weather shelter, hey, would you be willing to feed all of the people in the shelter, not just the 20 cold weather shelter people? Because they're all like living in the same facility. It's not like they're different in any way. One of the things that we learned was that we ended up having a lot of leftover food because rarely were all of the shelter residents there for a particular meal. So about a month or two into the season, we realized, well, really for dinner, it's really more of 50 or 40 or something like that. And then we also adjusted the numbers for lunch because we have a lot of, the kids aren't there. Also, we figured out generally how many kids are there because obviously a 2-year-old's not going to eat as much as an adult. So I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but for this year's, let's say, winter season, I think we said 60 for dinner, maybe like 30 for lunch, and I forget how many for breakfast. But they did kind of figure, after kind of a year under our belts, we did kind of figure out how to adjust the numbers so that we don't have, you guys aren't making food that's not needed, we're not throwing away food, things like that. We want to, ideally, we want to kind of get it just right, although that's hard to figure out with, since our population does change a little bit. No.
One of the questions that we have had, and I think the vestry sort of brought it to us, is that in our outreach, we're always asking that we need money for this or that, you know, and it's ongoing all year long. And I think people are asking, is there any way they could give time? Do you have any schedule or job descriptions where volunteers could come and help, like in the winter, even if it's cleaning the bathrooms or something? I mean, you know, just anything. I know people don't want to be cleaning the bathrooms, but, or entertainment or game night or, I don't know, you'd have to come up with the ideas for us. Storytelling for the kids, you know, or bring movie. We have a
Movie ministry too.
Oh,
so we could
her
have movies.
husband has a movie ministry that is fabulous. And so is there any way that you could develop a schedule for giving time?
Sure, no, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So yes, we always need funding, absolutely. But we
want to give time.
right. So we do have some volunteer opportunities. One of the ones that we're adding year round are the need for meal servers. Okay. So these are folks that don't make a meal but come in just to help serve the meal. With that many extra people, we really do need extra hands in the kitchen just to help staff do the meal serving. So I believe that sign up is online.
It's on the same sign up as the Make a Meal, because Christ Church has actually signed up to
Right.
make a meal based on our leftovers and other things from the flea market we had yesterday. And on the same sign up Genius, there are spots for people to serve that meal.
Yes.
Who are signed up from who knows where. I mean, it's
Right.
individuals.
Right, yeah, so we added the meal serving. That was something new that we added last year when we had so many extra people in our dining room. We realized we really need extra hands to help serve meals. Even if it's a meal that our kitchen staff prepares, we still need extra hands both for lunch and dinner. So
Do you have a sign up Genius on your
Yes.
website?
yes. So there is one for just meal servers.
Okay.
The other thing is Tuesdays is sort of our designated night for activities. So we have different groups, faith communities that will come and like do bingo night, things like that. So one of the unfortunate parts of the county coming in and taking up just about every extra inch of space to make these new additional beds is what they took away was most of our group space. So we really don't have any other group space besides the dining room and the courtyard, you know, where you're weather dependent. So besides the dining room, there really is no space for movies or anything like that. So the dining room is our own one and only space for both meals and activities.
But you could put up a movie screen in your dining room.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we could do that. So usually those activities are on Tuesdays. How many people attend those is really hit or miss. So sometimes we get a lot of people, sometimes we hardly get anything. And we always tell groups that up front, that our folks are still experiencing their crisis as they're living in shelter. So their schedules can be unpredictable. It's just hard to get them to commit to anything. But bingo nights have been popular because it's fun, and B, there are gift cards involved. So there's like $5 or $10 gift cards for bingo winners, and those tend to be.
Heard about your bingo.
Yeah, so that tends to be popular.
When they get that card.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can work with Phoebe. She's our volunteer and in-kind donations coordinator to look at the schedule. And we're always happy to try something different. But that is that's something where you guys can come in as a group, not like a group of 50, like a smaller group. But please go ahead and brainstorm with her and come up with some other ideas, because we've had art night where people are doing like painting. We've and not like a huge turnout, but a small turnout. We have a 55 plus community that's donating a bunch of pumpkins in mid-October, and all the kids are going to decorate the pumpkins. So Tuesday is that one designated night, because Phoebe then stays late to make sure that the activities come through.
So we would need to coordinate if we are trying to do a movie night or art, because we have also spiritual nourishment, and there's one art teacher, and I'm also one. So we would able to do small drawings, for example, or some projects.
Yeah.
So that we would have to sign up to see what other things are scheduled already.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be a good idea.
We would able to do movies. My husband, George, is the one who does the movie ministry, and he's plenty of movies that would be wholesome for kids as well. So we can have a kid friendly movie. The other ones are family friendly too, but maybe more on the language and the age level of the kids.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let me just.
Yeah, snacks would be good. Yeah.
Okay, do you need like bingo prizes? Because we are, I'm the VP of the women's group too, and we have Springfield Hospital we used to do bingo with, and we were providing the treats what you win on bingo. And we have a group of us who would love to go playing bingo with them, but also maybe we can just give a batch of gifts that it can be given out on a bingo night. So is that an interest?
Maybe. So none of the residents are allowed to have any food in their room. So it can't be anything food related. Like you can serve like, popped popcorn or something like that, but we don't want anything that they can like squirrel away and take to their rooms, because otherwise we get all kinds of critters in rooms.
I understand. So it has to be non-food reward.
It has to be a non-food reward. And that's why we like gift cards to someplace like, it could be Giant, it could be Walmart or something like that, because our ages vary from, teenagers to like right now our oldest resident is 81. So it's kind of hard to come up with gifts that will make everybody happy other than like a Walmart gift card.
The other question is, I'm the coordinator with Dion, who was here earlier, for the second Monday dinner. I was confused that do we need to up the numbers at this point from what we provide, or we keep it at the level what we are at right now?
I think, so officially Cold Weather Shelter is supposed to open, I think, the first week of December.
So do we need to up our number by 10?
I think we will, Phoebe or somebody in the kitchen will communicate that with you, or they'll change the numbers on the Sign Up Genius.
And we will not have another partnering, somebody who's, as you said, add that little extra 20, 30 people meal, which one is different than ours. We're trying to harmonize that. Be ready at Dorsey, what we on the same day we are serving lunch. And we are protecting a portion designated for the other, for the dinner. But we are buying, for example, the chicken, and many of us who are serving also cooking the day before and a day of for both meals. So we need to know then, we need to at least 48 hours know if a number rises.
Sure.
I know that Kathy from Dorsey tells us a tick up on numbers. So if we can get a news out to all the groups who are serving that now the numbers changed, so we have an official quick update.
For the Day Resource Center or for Grassroots?
Grassroots.
Grassroots, yeah. I know officially cold weather doesn't start until December. We will not be bringing any, even though the rooms will be ready in October. I don't think they'll be filling them, as far as I know. The county hasn't instructed us to fill them until December. So I think that's when our numbers will change, but I don't know if they'll be filled instantly and all of that.
So right now, as is, what
As
we
is.
have until further notice.
Until December, yes.
Okay. And the contact for the movies is also Phoebe.
Yep.
Correct, okay.
That'd be great, thank you.
All right, thank you for meeting.
Other questions?
One thing I wanted to know, I'm sorry. Do you offer, someone had asked us if we ever could offer Narcan training. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that a couple of us, I think it was Michonne and I, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, took an online course Grassroots offered in how to intervene if you think someone is contemplating suicide and actually talk to them in a way that might keep them safe.
Yep.
Which was a very well done instruction. So could you address ways that you help the community learn how to handle mental health and addiction issues?
Sure. So yes. So we have certified peer recovery specialists that can come into a community such as yours and do Narcan training. You can go ahead and, if you want, just contact me if that's something that you're interested in, and I can schedule that, and then they come in, they do the training, and then they hand out the Narcan free of charge.
Oh, so you don't have to go get a prescription and go to a pharmacy and get your own pack?
No. So anybody who receives the training will then also get a kit with Narcan and then like fentanyl test strips and stuff like that. So they're happy to do that. We actually have a grant to do that kind of harm reduction training. So we would be thrilled to do that. So just let me know and I will hook you up with the deputy director who does that. And we will get one of our peers to come in and do that. And then the second part of your question, I think it might have been assist training.
I think so.
Okay.
It was during the pandemic.
Yeah, so actually we just completed, last week, we just completed an assist training. So the next one, we have been doing it in September and then one in the winter, like January, February. So that will probably be the next assist training that we offer. But if you can send me an email and remind me of that you guys are interested in that, once that's scheduled, I will send you a flyer. So we have those at the Grassroots building, and I think the class is limited to about 10 people.
When you say the Grassroots building, do you
Free-
mean the one on
Freetown
Red
Road.
Branch?
No, Freetown Road.
Oh, okay.
We've been using that one.
This is Pamela Brown online. Could you, this has been a wonderful presentation. Could you explain how it's determined who is going to benefit by being in the beds that you provide? Number one. Number two, who determines who gets into the cold weather shelter? And number three, do some of those individuals roll over to be recipients of having more permanent housing? And then just fourthly, what happens to the people when the cold weather shelter ends? And when does that happen? I know you said it starts in December, but when does it end? And what happens to those individuals when it does end?
Yeah, so great questions. That's one of the questions I get asked a lot is how do we who figures out, who makes the decision of who gets into the limited shelter space that Howard County has available. So cold weather shelter runs from the beginning of December through the end of March. So that's kind of the same schedule and season that we've always had. Grassroots does not decide who comes into our shelter. Howard County government, who is at the main funder for our programs, there's a coordinated system of homeless services that Grassroots participates in. And part of that is a housing assessment with very specific questions, because Howard County, their goal is to get the folks that they deem most vulnerable into shelter. So there are some eligibility requirements to get into shelter in Howard County. The first one being that they need to be Howard County residents. The obvious question after that being, well, how do you have residency if you are experiencing homelessness? Question. So they deem residency by having some kind of connection to Howard County. So somebody who was living in Howard County when they became homeless. So they had an apartment, they were evicted, something like that. It could be maybe somebody who didn't have their own apartment, but they were living with a friend and their kids were attending Howard County public schools, or something like that, or even literally their tent was in Howard County, something like that. So anybody who is experiencing homeless or is about to be homeless can call our 24-hour crisis center. They will do a housing assessment with them, which is a questionnaire, everything about health to income to stuff like that. And then those folks get on a prioritization list, and then Grassroots works with Howard County Office of Housing to figure out where people are on that prioritization list. The ones that are higher up on that prioritization list would be like, say, somebody who has a chronic health condition, or somebody with like a newborn infant or something like that. Like those would be factors that they would get into shelter first. When a shelter space comes up, we let the county know. They let us know who's at the top of that prioritization list. We then call those folks or try to reach them in some way to say, hey, are you still in need of shelter? Because sometimes they may not be. Maybe they found family to live with. Maybe they moved to another jurisdiction. But if we contact them, they say, yes, we are interested in the shelter space, they will then come in. I'm not quite sure, that's a little bit too in the weeds for me because I'm not a direct service provider about who gets into the regular shelter space versus cold weather shelter. And sometimes last year what we did was we moved people, if somebody like had a voucher, they were approved for an apartment and they were just waiting for it to be inspected, we moved them from like the regular shelter into cold weather shelter. That way we could rotate people through cold weather shelter quickly that sort of had an exit plan, I think was the terminology. If that's the plan again this year, it probably is, but I don't know if that answers your question about who gets into shelter. I know it was like a three-part
We
question.
can go on.
Right.
I don't know who's got the mic. Oh, I'll give it back to you in just a second. I gave you a card for Howard County's Continuum of Care. And if they go on the county government website and look at the words or type in search Continuum of Care, it explains the whole process on there. So you can learn more on Howard County's government website. Did you have a question?
So one of my kids is in emergency services in Colorado. And he was explaining, and I thought this was very interesting, that if you call 911 in Colorado, most of the places in the nation, it's a three-pronged approach. You're getting fire, legal services, law enforcement, or medical. In Colorado, there are four. You get fire, law enforcement, medical, or mental health. And there's an actual full branch of emergency services that is specifically mental health trained. And it sounded like you've got the seed of that at Grassroots because you've got 2 mobile responders. So my question is, you probably have your finger on the pulse of nationwide planning more than I. Do you know if that's something that is likely to grow into a nationwide model of emergency services, or have you heard of that at all? I think it's really interesting because we know from the news that so many people in mental health crisis are not getting the properly trained people that they need. So I just wonder what you know.
That's really interesting. I hadn't heard of that. The closest that we have to that in Howard County, we actually have a memorandum of understanding with Howard County Emergency Response, where if somebody calls 911 emergency response, but it's not an actual like 911 emergency, apparently people call 911 when they're lonely and kind of want somebody to talk to. Once 911 dispatch can confirm that the person is safe, that there is no emergency response that is needed, they can do a warm transfer to our crisis hotline. So that in Howard County, that would be kind of the closest similarity to that. And I think that's sort of also the idea behind the 988, is to have that number available so that 911, and I don't know if it's different operators that answer those kind of calls. So the mobile response is, I don't know if that's a nation, well, yes, there's definitely mobile crisis team nationwide, but for the state of Maryland, that is very much a priority. It was a goal in the state of Maryland to have 22 behavioral health urgent care facilities open throughout the state of Maryland. That has not quite worked out as planned, and right now, besides Grassroots, they have 0. Part of that was the planning, part of that was, I think, a funding issue. So there's, state of Maryland is still working through that, but I know providing more mental health resources is definitely a priority, because people will go to the emergency room and they will sit and wait and wait. And so we're working closely with the state of Maryland to see if like a Grassroots, because Grassroots model is so unique, to see if that can be duplicated. But the reason that Grassroots is able to do that is because we are able to leverage other funding that we have. Not every state has the funding for something like that. Did you have a question?
Have you been able to use AI in getting more organized?
No, we have not.
Not yet.
not yet. No.
Not yet. I just wondered.
Yeah, no, not very much. No. Let's. Put it
I'm
that
taking
way.
a course because I'm
okay.
so afraid of it. So I thought I'd take a course and to get rid of the fear. And it is amazing.
It is.
I mean, you just put in your question, like, where should I find funding for this particular project? And it'll spit out within minutes funding.
Yeah, well, a big part of what I do is grant writing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I will need to look up, like, what are the numbers of people,
Right.
Who are, whatever, and I'll put that up there just because I need to get some data backup for a grant application. And you're right, it's amazing.
And that maybe, if you learn it well enough, from what I understand, write your grant.
I have
within
heard
5
that,
minutes.
yes. I have heard that. Not sure if I like that idea, but I have heard that.
Yeah, I mean,
So I promised our guest Anna that she could finish up about now because you have another
Yeah, no, actually,
obligation.
I can stay till about 10:30 if
Okay.
needed, so.
Well, we have another
Yeah,
service as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure if any of you have questions, that you get a chance either online or in person to ask them. Or if you haven't covered anything about Grassroots' broad service portfolio, if there's anything left to be said before we wind up.
The only thing left to be said is thank you to you guys. You guys have been long time supporters of Grassroots. So we really appreciate it. I remember working, and I can't remember her name, Christchurch Link.
Linda Hayes?
Yes. For many years. So thank you guys for all your support.
Thank you. And does anyone else have questions? Yes, here you go. What? I'll ask personally. Oh, okay. Anne?
Thank you, and gosh, thank Grassroots for everything that you do in our community. So I'm just looking ahead to the stresses that are going to come to our local economy. Part of that will be as we have more job loss relating to declining federal and state budgets, but also when individuals living on the margins already are almost certain to lose their food stamp benefits. And I know you don't run the food bank, but I just think of the cascading effect
Yeah.
of economic loss on families, and are you planning ahead for any additional services or relating to these things? Are there any projections?
Not really, a little hard to say. The Day Resource Center has already seen an increase in folks coming in. I know, so they have a food pantry that I'm sure you're familiar with. Our crisis center also has a food pantry. As far as we know, our crisis center is the only 24/7 food pantry in the state of Maryland. Like somebody can come in at 2:00 in the morning and get food. Because
That's over on
At-
Branch.
yeah, on Old Annapolis, yes. So we do see people coming in. So it'll be a combination of both the economic hit, but also folks losing Medicaid. And needing those mental health services that might have been covered by, a huge hit. So unfortunately, right now we've also been hit with funding cuts. So Grassroots has lost about $3 million in funding. Through a couple of programs, either reductions in larger programs or elimination of smaller programs. So I can tell you that nobody in nonprofit has slept since January. It's been a rough time. So we're, like everybody else, we're just kind of there with our fingers crossed. We've had to eliminate positions. So it hasn't been a good time. We have pretty diverse funding, so we're hoping to weather the storm, but it's not going to be pretty. I mean, we're not going to be able to do as much as we did in previous years to help those that we could. We'll have to limit it. We reach out to folks like you guys to help fill our food pantry and everything like that. So yeah.
This coming need, and we give to you and other organizations, we volunteer, we give time, talent, and treasure. So as you are seeing, we're also projecting ahead to what we will be able to do here.
Grassroots is very active on social media. We also go out to, last year we participated in 173 outreach events. I'm about to go to one at the Howard County Fairgrounds of the Festival of India. So we're reaching out to populations and faith groups and whoever who might not be familiar with us, both because they might need our services and they're not familiar with us, or there might be groups that are not familiar with us and might be willing to support us. So two-prong approach to that. The more people know about us, the more they're willing to support us.
Any questions online?
Yes, I just have one. I guess this is an obvious answer from the beds that you said were distributed, but are families basically given priority over, i.e., single women, for example, who need housing?
Most of I think just about all of the beds the 20 beds that were created last year were turned into family rooms, because that's really our biggest need, is emergency shelter for families, and particularly for large families. It's not unusual for us to get requests for shelter for families of 7, 8, 9, and our previous rooms just couldn't handle that. So where our hotline used to be became a room of 6 with its own dedicated bathroom. And we have a really large family that's living there now. Of the 17 new beds, we're going to have 2 rooms for 5, and then one very, very large room of 7 for men upstairs, so that we could increase capacity for men. But pretty much, I'd say the majority of the space that was created is for families.
I have a question, and that is, how many children do you have, and is it a greater number than in the recent past?
It is a greater number, partly because those rooms are for families. So when we were probably about midsummer, of the 71 beds of shelter, 30 were children. Right now it went down, and I believe we have 24 children right now.
Are those ages from toddlers to teens?
Yep.
Or what's the concentration?
Yeah, a lot of, I think right now, a lot of elementary school age. We have a 4-month-old, and we have some teens, so yeah, it varies. Yes, yeah, right, they go to school. So some of them actually go to whatever school they came from. So we have a bus that comes to Grassroots to bus them, and some transfer schools. It's their choice.
Wait,
I'm loud. How long would a family of 9, just hypothetically, how long would they stay?
The average stay at Grassroots is about 4 months. Some stay longer, some stay shorter.
And then someone helps them maybe negotiate some sort of other living space.
So we have case managers. So they have, once they get to Grassroots, they have to have a housing plan developed within 2 weeks, and then they figure out the best fit for their situation. It could be applying for rapid rehousing. It could be a voucher. It could be relocating somewhere else. We'll help them relocate. If they live in Howard County, but they have tons of family in Oklahoma, we'll put them on a bus and send them to Oklahoma if they have potential place to live there as well.
and as in that continuum of care, then other organizations like Bridges or other parts of the Howard County infrastructure
Yes.
for this all are working at the same time to try to find a place for these people to exit your shelter and start over. Is that correct?
Right, so Bridges is our partner for rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing funds live at Bridges to Housing Stability, so we refer our clients to Bridges. They also get a Bridges case manager who then works with our case manager, so they almost kind of double the capacity for case management to help folks move out. There's another wonderful organization that we work with called Home of Our Own Howard, started by Betty Pearson. So when our folks move out, we love that because that got us out of the furniture business. Our folks complete a checklist, and then Home of Our Own Howard takes over and makes sure they have furniture.
Yes, we recommend people who are downsizing donate their
Yep.
dining room tables and so on.
Yep,
to
I do
Home of
too.
Our Own. I think we're done,
think
unless
so.
there are some other comments. Anyone have questions? Nope.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thanks to everyone online.
to buy.